Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk, and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there and having a fantastic end of your week and beginning of your weekend, the weekend before Christmas, before Santa shoves his fat ass down that chimney. All right, that right there was the last of Mohicans, Annie Hurdy-Gurdy featuring Alexander Willems, the Neckelhopper. And that was a great version. I love that. A promontory. I think it's promontory, but it's spelled differently. because there's no E, even though that's where it is everywhere. It's misspelled. It's not an E, it's O, but crazy. So tonight we're going to do a little bit different of a show. I know there's a little bit of news. There's not so much. It's not crazy news hour or anything like that. So I'm going to really just kind of open this up to discussion. So if you guys have questions, I'm here to answer them. So think about this as an hour, an hour of time with Josh, to where you guys get to ask questions and everything like that. Super chats and Rumble rants, those will typically go up to the front. And I am observing that. I do have a guest I'm going to be bringing in just a few minutes. We're going to go on with Gabe for just a little while. I feel bad, man. I told Gabe Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday. now it's Friday. Finally got Gabe on. But there's just a lot of things happening in his schedule, my schedule. So, but we got Gabe tonight. He's going to come on for just a few minutes. So if you guys got questions, if you got things that you want to ask, any rabbit hole you want to deep dive into, these types of things, get them ready, because we are going to go through them and to talk about them. I will do kind of just a little bit on the news today. Dark black pages of the Epstein files was released. Tons and tons and tons of redactions over and over and over and over again. Did we learn anything new about the Epstein files? I mean, that's when these things come out. I know a lot of people are still processing everything like this. Have you learned anything new about the Epstein files? The answer is no. You're not going to learn anything new that you already didn't know. And you're not going to learn anything about what Epstein was really doing, who he was, why he was taken out. Was he a rogue intelligence actor? I think that he was an intermediary, and that's how he made a lot of his money. But I can guarantee you he didn't have top-level access to the upper echelons of the globalist empire and everything like that, even though he had compromise that kept him in the loop on things. And maybe we can go in on that in another show, just doing a rabbit hole deep dive of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's conspiracy, not pertaining to human trafficking or sex trafficking, but pertaining to something completely different. So there's a few different ideas of kind of, who Jeffrey Epstein was, what he was doing. Now, I look at Jeffrey Epstein, he was an intelligence asset. As an intelligence asset, he operated as an intermediary between very, very wealthy people that were involved in illicit crime activities. If you've ever wondered how human traffickers, arms traffickers, or drug traffickers get their money from the streets into their bank accounts in foreign countries and move and launder that money, well, Jeffrey Epstein is that intermediary component that fits right in there, takes the fee and the bag for the intelligence agencies, and they pay off all the other people, and he gets it into legitimized investment structures and then pays off the head honchos that are in the upper echelons there. At least that's how he got his start in the CIA after leaving the Dalton School, and in the 1980s, working with Aden Khashoggi as his money bag. Literally what he did for him. This also is how MI6 positioned George Soros to do the same thing after World War II within Europe and within various other parts of the world. So we have to understand that these people can become very, very powerful. Now, other parts of the news that came out today, and by the way, that's what I'm saying, is there's not much I'm learning new of the Epstein files that is significant for me. One piece of news that I'm going to talk about after Gabe comes in, and this is technology, where technology is heading, what's going on with technology, what we have to be careful of, the expression of our rights and why we need to fortify this right now in the Trump presidency and within this next year of the Trump presidency. We have to make these election-based issues, because Donald Trump is basically turning off the presidency and moving into election season. And fuck that. That makes me mad. That makes me angry. He's got a job to do. We elected him to do certain things. And right now I'm seeing this divergence away from, hey, first year, we set everything up. Good job. Enjoy. And moving into the election cycle. He's at a rally literally right now. But there's certain things that we have to make election-based issues. And I think that this is a good point of conversation tonight, election-based issues and these types of things that we can do. And number one, obviously, voting systems, safe and secure elections, but also the sanctity of our rights, our constitutional rights, and how that expands and expresses into the digital systems and the new digital infrastructure that is being developed and created. So pay attention to that. we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to put election. There you go. Just use my notes. And I think there's a few other pieces of news that we will get into. China talking about technology. We'll talk about Putin and Kaliningrad and the warning that he just issued to the EU. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about UFOs, UAPs, aliens, extraterrestrial, the disclosure that is potentially coming and how that's going to happen. And I think that's one of my favorite topics to talk about that I haven't talked about in a little while. But first, there's more. Let's bring in Gabe and have a good conversation with Gabe, what's up, man? How we been?
Hey, we're doing good, Josh. Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody's doing well. And I know you've had a big snowstorm up there and and just a lot going on. So yeah, it's great to be on with you, and I hope we'll have a good conversation, and you can get on to talking about all these other interesting subjects and UFOs and et cetera and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I see behind you, you got a book there, Life Force by Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, obviously, just start real quick because I know we're going to be on here short. We still got the Christmas specials going. Buy a large, get a free small, 2 mediums, or 3 small stocking stuffers. All good deals, and they still work with the Red Pill discount. So you get another 10% off if you use Red Pill. But Tony Robbins, I know that book Life Force does a lot about healthy aging, and our microbiome is extremely important to healthy aging. And the research is, just coming out more and more on this subject. But I think you and I talked a while back about how the mitochondria in the cells is supported by melatonin in the cell. So we think about melatonin in the brain, but there's melatonin in the cells as well. And that melatonin is a critical activator of mitochondria and the health of the mitochondria. But in order for that melatonin to exist in the cells, you have to have the serotonin that's circulating through the body that is largely produced in the gut. 90% is produced in the gut. And because the serotonin enters the cells and is converted to melatonin, and then the melatonin supports the mitochondria. And we also know that now that the gut microbiome, it plays an essential role in healthy cellular function within the gut. This is largely because of the nutrients absorbed from the food, the breakdown of metabolites, and these short chain fatty acids, which are the energy source for the cells in the gut and the digestive system. So if we don't have a good, healthy microbiome, our cells don't work properly, and we don't have the proper production of serotonin in the gut. And in addition to that, not only do we get the proper production of serotonin, but we also get increased production of this corticotropin factor that then upregulates cortisol. So we're running around with higher cortisol levels, less serotonin, and that's all very stressful on the body and on the cells. So, I don't know I've got that book, but I haven't read it, Life Force. But I don't know if he gets into that. I think he probably talks about gut health a little bit, but we know that is very, very, the gut on many levels is extremely important to healthy aging. So that's a big topic these days, people wanting to live longer and have a longer quality of life and lifespan. So, yeah.
He focuses primarily on peptides and the use of peptides and how they're going to revolutionize science. A lot on Dr. David Sinclair's at Harvard University's lab and what they've been doing with NAD plus and Versicolor and all of that. I've read it 2 times. That's why it's actually I've read all of Tony Robbins' books. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
Well, keep in mind that the gut produces these peptides too. So the GLPs that we produce those ourselves, but you have to have the gut microbiome actually helps to break down these proteins to produce these peptides internally as well. So yes, we have peptide science is a huge area of growth. But remember, we make a lot of these ourselves, but and it's largely dependent on a healthy microbiome. If you have we're not producing the peptides and the amino acids and the neurotransmitters that we should be internally with our own little peptide factory that we've got going on there, in addition to the synthetic peptides, or not just synthetic, but just lab made peptides and that kind of thing.
Well, then how does GOODBRU fit into that?
Well, GOODBRU just really helps support the gut microbiome in general. So as a prebiotic fiber, inulin is the prebiotic that the gut microbiome feeds on to produce those short chain fatty acids which allow us to have a healthy microbiome, healthy cellular function throughout the body, and ultimately in helping to break down those peptides, those proteins and the peptides and amino acids. But the probiotic, the strain of probiotic that we use in GOODBRU, spore forming probiotic that survives in coffee and through the stomach, and the stomach acid, it itself has specifically been shown to increase protein utilization by up to 20%. And there's multiple studies on that specific strain that we use. And that protein utilization is because of the breaking down of the proteins and the peptides and amino acids so that our body can absorb those and use those. So GOODBRU has a direct relationship to that, and it also has the effect of supporting the microbiome in a general sense, which is very important to good cellular health in the gut and throughout the body, and lowering inflammation and helping with things that are very immediate to people too, like digestive health issues that they're dealing with right now. We have so many great stories about helping people with acid reflux or chronic constipation or IBS or these sorts of things as well. And this relationship between the gut and anxiety and the gut-brain axis, I mean, it's so real and so pertinent. We've talked about the studies that have been done with veterans, with autistic children. But, I was just reading something a minute ago that correlates back to the gut, and it's not directly it's anecdotal to why having a healthy gut microbiome is important. And that is, you ever think about, so when people have like seasickness or motion sickness, you take something to calm the motion sickness. Well, at the same time, the anxiety levels go down. So it really shows you in a real simple way that the gut and anxiety are related. You calm the nausea from your motion sickness. You also calm the anxiety that's associated with the fear of flying or this or that or the other. Another example was the holiday season is alcohol use. So we know that alcohol is a major.
I know about that.
Yeah, but there's many things that alcohol does to us depending on how much of it we consume. But in general, the reason it's such a major part of culture throughout history and why is because of it's probably the most powerful anti-anxiety drug there is alcohol. And so that's probably why, in places where we wouldn't use any other kinds of drugs, there's still alcohol available, say in state dinners and corporate dinners and all these things, because it lowers people's anxiety levels. But here's what's really interesting about that, and it should be kind of common sense, but I don't think we think about it like this. Is the alcohol reaches the gut and the nerves in the gut before they reach the brain. So even like one glass of wine, when you're around the family at Thanksgiving or Christmas and you're trying to calm down, it may just be that it's calming your gut before you ever have to drink so much that it really starts to affect your cognitive function. It's just that calming of the nerves in the gut that then helps to maybe calm us down. And so, but you could also just have a healthy gut microbiome and really have that benefit, on a regular basis, which is well studied and shown. So,
oh, that's awesome. What do you guys got going on? I heard you guys got some Christmas specials.
Yep, buy a large, get a free small. Use Repill, get another 10% off of that. Get two mediums, for what we call the New Year's special, or three of these smalls that we call the stocking stuffing special for a good discount as is, and then add the Repill discount onto that. So either use GOODBRU, BRU.com/Redpill, or put Repill in as a discount at the discount code at checkout. Is a little place to put in the discount and just put in Repill and get 10% off there as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you gotta get one with me up there holding it.
Yeah, we do. We need to get a screenshot of you and some of the others we've been doing too.
Tammy's gonna yell at me for that one.
Shit, that was a really good interview she did there, and I need to get some of the testimonials of. There's a lot of stuff we need to do, but we're happy to have so many reorders. The proofs in the pudding in that regard. We have just a tremendous amount of reorders. I think there's some of the Repill. I think there's some of your listeners that have ordered 10 times now. So that's and we get some.
I use it every day. I use it every day. But I found my limit. My limit is 1 scoop per cup of coffee, and I typically have 2 cups of coffee.
Isn't that interesting? Because everybody has this. So your other colleague there, I was talking to him a couple of days ago, and he said he's 1 scoop and a half. That's his. And everybody has that. I do 2, sometimes 3, depending, because I kind of know. Sometimes most days it's 2, and every now and then I'll add another one in. And your other friend Nino, he's like, I think he was going crazy on the stuff, but but he was, that's good. Everybody, and that's what's so nice about being able to use it in a scoop. You're getting a significant amount of fiber. You can't get that from a capsule. Probiotics and capsules typically don't have good shelf life, and they don't survive the stomach acid. The spore forming probiotic does. And because you use it as a scoop, you get a significant amount of the fiber, and you can adjust it to what works for you. So start with 1 scoop, and we have lots of people who do that. The 1 scoop works for them, and these are even people with digestive health problems that it's really helped them with. And if you do just use 1 scoop a day, a large lasts a very long time. That's like probably about 150.
6 month supply, easy.
Yeah.
It's a 6 month supply, pretty easy. I got 2 of the mediums, and I already went through 1, and I went through the medium in 2 months. That's why I had to cut back to 1 scoop.
right.
But yeah, I mean they last a long time. So for people want to go check them out, GOODBRU. I call them GOODBRU BIOTICS, but goodbrew.com/redpill, GOODBRU.com/redpill, and use that code redpill at checkout for an extra 10% off. And they do have Christmas specials going on, so go check that out there, guys. Gabe, I appreciate you coming on with me, man. We're gonna have you back on, and I know we won't see you next week, so Merry Christmas to you and your family, and we'll see you the week after.
Sounds great. Thank you, Josh. You take care.
Take care, Gabe. Bye.
Goodbye.
All right. I don't know what happened. If you look, there's like this blue tinge to my lighting. I'm like sitting here going like this, trying to get my camera to readjust. I don't know what's going on. It's not the screen over here, because then you would kind of see it. But there's like this blue tinge. It's kind of cool, but it's different and it's annoying. Anyways, how we doing, guys? What's up? So I want to go ahead and I'm watching the chats, and I'm looking for any Rumble rants or super chat. I can't really see super chats. Maybe I can actually. Hold on. Let me go in here, because I know we got YouTube set up for super chats, I believe. At least we originally did. So I got YouTube pulled up here too. Let me pull up D Live, because I know the D Livers out there are like, you should pull up our chat, dude. It's just not so easy looking at 3 different chats. Excuse me. And I did see somebody's message about pickle juice. Okay, I will try pickle. I actually have some pickle juice in the house, so I will try the pickle juice for my cough. And do I gurgle? Do I gurgle it while it's in there? And then Pilled. I'm going to pull up Pilled. And it doesn't look like we have anybody watching on Pilled. Nobody's talking over there. Man, you guys want me to go watch the chat on Pilled, and there's nobody over there. All right, so and then Johnny Porter, where do I order the steaks? Go to last night's show on Rumble, last night's show, and then you can find the links for that over there. And Gabe is such a, it's Josh is the Bluebeard. I love it. And he was talking about my book collection back here. And if you're wondering what my book collection is, we have The Prophetic Matrix by Michael John Tost. And I actually know him. And it came with a nice little letter in here. It came with a medal, one of the first medals that was actually sent to the moon. And obviously, signed on the inside. Typically, if you guys write a book and you want to send it to me, feel free. I will absolutely give you my mailing address to send me a book, but just make sure you guys throw a little note in there and stuff like that. Then we got Kevin Randall. I had Kevin Randall on a while back, UFOs in the Deep State. It's a really good read, talking about UFOs in the Deep State. I don't know if I necessarily agree with Kevin Randall. I had him on the show a few times, or actually I had him on the show twice. And the book is way better than interviewing Kevin Randall. I like Kevin. He's a nice guy. But I actually have a theory on the deep state and UFOs and technology. And it actually goes into the Epstein conversation, and it's a pretty interesting one. But I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that here in a minute. because it's definitely, you can, once you hear my theory, what you see out there makes a lot more sense now. This one, Commons Beaumont's The Great Deception. This is a must read. Ready? Concealed and denied for over half a century, Commons Beaumont's final work was sought high and low, from underground Edinburgh to High Templars, and finally miraculously uncovered. Like our distorted history close to home, it is time to open our eyes, our ears, and our minds and throw off the burden of confusion thought about and maintained by the Great Deception. The modern world could be brought to understand the truth of the message I humbly place before all men. It might mean a big upshift in our own distressed era, but tune into the truth must prevail. Ancient Civilization, The Roman Conspiracy, right here. Great book. Atlantis, yeah. And then everybody's like, what's this other book? Well, there's two of them here. Don't judge me, but you know what? You read everything. Pagan Origins and the Christ Myth. It's actually a really good book if you're interested in learning more about that stuff. Immanuel Velikovsky's World in Collision. Definite read for any conspiracy theorist. It's like reading 101 for conspiracy theorists. Then just typical books. One of my favorite books right here. I don't know if I pulled this one up before. This is The Combined Constitutions of the United States and Wisconsin. This book was published in 1897, I think. So anytime I go to thrift stores, 1883. So anytime I go to thrift stores, one of the things I do is I look for old Americana style books, specifically about the Founding Fathers, the Federalist Papers, or the Constitution. Just one of my things that I do. Antique stores, thrift stores, those are the types of books I'm looking for. I got quite a few of them in my collection. I got another one of the Federalist Papers from 1819. Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't care if it's worth anything. It's a great read because you get to read like 30, when some of the Founding Fathers are still alive, 30 years after these deliberations were done, what the Federalist Papers were actually saying. And I know that, well, we already got copies of them. Yeah, but you have a lot of interpretations of them. And having a modern day interpretation, what I mean modern day is an 1820s, 1810 interpretation of the Federalist Papers, I think is way more significant than having a 2025 interpretation of the Federalist Papers. I'm going to go in here and I'm looking at the chat. I see James. It was Sohak. Sohak. Wasn't that a name of a character on Stargate SG-1, Sohak? I think so. But they said Redacted is doing a 2-part disclosure series today and tomorrow talking about military working with ETs. Yes, this is a guy by the name of JP. And I tuned in. So I'm familiar with JP's story. And because Dr. Michael Sala has interviewed JP many times. So now he was on with Clayton Morris on Redacted. I'm not going to say whether I believe his story or not. I'm going to say is use caution because there's a series of red flags. One of the things that Clayton says early on in the interview when you're watching this with JP says that he wasn't in the military very long. He was an E4, and an E4 is kind of a low rank. And Clayton says, well, that's really interesting. A lot of the guys that come forth and are whistleblowers and talking about the same stories that you're talking about are typically very low ranking. And the reason that is done like that is not because in these USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs or things like this, that they let's go get the E3s and the E4s and bring them in here. It's because when you say you're an E3 or E4, it's really hard to validate you at your command because you don't have any responsibilities. People aren't typically going to remember the E1s, E2s, E3s, E4s at their command because they don't have necessarily a significant position of NCO or higher. So NCO would be E5. E5, then you have a leadership position. People are going to typically remember you. This is why all these people that come out are usually E4 and below. They usually lead very unexciting lives in the military, and they come out with these fantastical stories of moon bases and being on Mars and traveling through space and underground tunnels. And I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think JP's story is probably bullshit. That's my assessment. And I've been doing this for a very long time. I have a very, very good gauge on people. And it's like yesterday. Candace Owens has this guy on there who's talking about how he was military, and he observed that back in September, he observed Erica Kirk on base with some other people. No. So firstly, I recognize this guy because a few years back, I think it was during COVID, this guy was talking another story on the internet, and it was fantastical as this one. So I think that this is going to be easily discredited. I think a lot of people are going to come forth. He claims he's special forces. We already have a lot of people in the special forces community, the Green Beret community, keep saying never heard of him, never seen him, which is already delegitimizing his story. So that brings us to the idea of psychological warfare, because it's very, very real, and there's a lot of disinformation artists out there. And so when we start to look at the world around us, instead of, we have to shift ourselves away from believing something first simply because it aligns with our kind of constructed belief theory or it makes us feel good, and immediately reject things. We have to be skeptical and pessimistic right off the bat when somebody tells us something. We got to say, I wonder if that's true, instead of, wow, that's true. And when we say, I wonder if that's true, then we have to go into a process of, well, if that is true, what were the things that would have to be considered in order for it to be true? Like for this guy, JP, if there is a moon base and, an underground water base and all these different types of things, what would have to be considered for him to be involved in that? Well, number one, there would have to be an extensive security background done on this individual. Then there would have to be some type of reason why they're going to bring him in to those projects, some type of aspect of specialty. And I think he actually had some specialty that dealt with this, something within biochemicals and water and stuff like that. Maybe he did. But typically at that level, let's just say there was a special access program. They needed somebody of that exact specialty. They would have recruited somebody that was of a higher rank, that had more experience under the military. And the reason is because the longer that you're in the military, the more trustworthy you become for that military component. You take orders very well. You've probably already had levels of intelligence that have come through you, and you've been trusted with it. Someone who's an E4 has probably been in the military less than a year, 2 years. The military doesn't necessarily know if they can believe them or not, unless they're straight out of like a nuke school and they've done their SFs, and they have an extensive background check, and they got submitted for their TSSCI, which usually even takes a probationary period when you get on it, when you first come into your first command. So I call bullshit on this guy. Now, is there a moon base? Yeah, I do think there is. How sophisticated is it? I don't know. Is there underground bases? I don't think we have underground bases. Well, I think that we don't have these deep 20-mile down underwater bases. I think that we have bases that are sitting on the oceanic shelves on our coastal territories. And I think that these are actually submarine deployment bases, but not submarines in the context of the Navy, but submarines in the context of different types of Navy vessels. We do have a Rumble rant that came in, $2 Rumble rant from James Bedouin 6. Josh, I wrote a chapter in a book this past fall called The Network Effect, 17 chapters from 17 authors. I send you a copy if you DM your address on X. And James Bedouin, I'm going to have to find you on X, buddy. If I already follow you on X, then great. Send me a DM. But if I don't, that means I got to follow you. He's just doing this to get a follow on X. I know he is. Yep, he is. He's just doing this to get a follow on X. Damn you, James. James, I just followed you. You should be able to message me on there now. So, all right. So, not necessarily a question. Yeah, and I've listened to Michael Salla for years. I've interviewed Michael Salla before, and I've always gauged Dr. Michael Salla as about a 50-50 person. 50% of the stuff that I think that it comes out with people on his shows is good, and 50% of it is just wackadoo over the head, over the top. You know, when we start to look at the UFO aspect, what's happening in the world with UAPs, USOs, all these types of things, and in disclosure, we're now being told that the Tic Tac UFOs were Lockheed and all this stuff. The truth is going to be much stranger than we understand. It's not going to be simple Independence Day type of movie, UFOs and aliens from another planet. It's not going to be that simple, guys. It's going to be something more and more complex and stranger than you can ever imagine. But it's also not going to be kind of as simple as they're just demons. Oh, it's just Satan and his demons. No. So I think that when we look at it in the context of, it's just aliens or it's just demons, I think that those are too simple of an explanation to explain the phenomena that are occurring. I think that it's a mix of a lot of different things. Lee Walden said, consciousness. Let's get Cliff High on, dude. I've invited Cliff on a few different times, and he's denied every time. So if you want Cliff High on this show, you contact Cliff High. You tell Cliff High he needs to go on my show, and you have Cliff High message me. Deal? Because I've tried, didn't want to come on, don't care to reach back out to him. Nice dude. Don't care to. All right. We can talk more on that topic if we want to. Actually, I can play a quick little video on that topic because I wanted to get into the aspect of psychological warfare too. But this is Tucker Carlson actually interviewing Tim Burchett. And listen to what Tim Burchett is going to say here.
It's our technology. No, I do not. There's no way. It is our no way is our technology. There's, I've talked to too many pilots. Why would we risk our best? I mean, I've talked to the best, Tucker, I've talked to the best pilots in the world that are ours. Some of them, not all of them, and that have told me. I mean, one guy, I remember at the Capitol Hill Club, it was just an unusual encounter. A guy spoke to a group and he followed me out and said, Tim, or Congressman or whatever, he said that thing was 14 feet. He went like this from my canopy. And I thought to myself, why didn't he say 15? Why didn't he say 20? But he said 14. And then he said this thing, it wasn't ours. He said, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't ours. And that's all he said. And I had a very high-ranking member of the Navy describe some underwater experiences they'd had. Was something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40. It
was doing 200 miles an hour underwater?
Underwater, big as a football field, and that's no fish.
So is it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go anywhere near 200 miles an hour underwater?
Not with our technology, no. The best we have is probably in the high 30s. And he was converting it, of course, knots is what the Navy guys would do, but there's nothing.
If I fire a 30-06 or any high caliber rifle underwater, it doesn't go 200 miles an hour. I can probably catch it in the length of a swimming pool or so.
Yeah, or it just falls down.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like.
So we've got, and this was described to me in areas, and I was quoted on time. I was just all I do is quote people that have knowledge. But this was one that was he was talking about. There are 5 or 6, I think, deep water areas in the ocean. You've traveled a lot. I have not. There's not a lot of deep water areas around East Tennessee at Fort Loudon Lake or anything, but talking miles deep. And of course, you've heard this before. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do the surface of the ocean. And he said these are areas where we see a high propensity of these UFOs. And there was a case where it was fairly well documented. They had multiple sightings. They were doing maneuvers and had the ships or boats, whatever you want to call them out there. I'm not a Navy guy. And there was the sighting in the air, and the pilots radio back and said, hey, is there something going on? Is there another operation? We got some secret technology stuff we're working on. They said, we don't have any. And they, Pentagon, nobody knew about anything. And they pulled it back. And then they pulled everything back, scrubbed the mission. And then the next day, all their internet traffic had been scrubbed. But this guy was kind of a wonk, and he'd made copies of it. But the point I have there is, why would we risk multi-million-dollar apparatus? And why would we put something in the air around our best pilots that could have a crash? Because these guys are talking about there's actually, they've come close to collisions. Why would they do that? They would not do that. That would be stupid. I mean, there's even, I always say military intelligence, a whole lot like congressional ethics. I don't think it really exists much anymore. But anyway, it's I just don't think that we'd be risking that. So that's my proof that it's not ours.
So how many military personnel have you spoken to about their personal experiences with these things?
I'd say, I don't know, 8 or 9, 10 maybe. But I have to be real careful because I'm clearly somebody out there, and I'm not backing down on it. I'm not ashamed of it or anything, but
You have no reason to be ashamed of it.
No.
Why would you be ashamed
Well,
of it?
that's what they try to do, is they try to shame people.
Oh, are you hiding relevant secrets from the American public? I don't think you are.
No, but
why aren't they ashamed?
Well, I have to be careful about the white flags, the stuff people bring me that's not real.
Well, that's why we're talking to you.
Yeah, well,
I've had a lot of people come to me with stuff like that.
Yeah, and I got these pictures, and I want to show you this. I've got this. I'm always afraid I'm going to end up in a refrigerator up in North.
So Tim Burchett, and we might be getting him on the show. I've had his contact information for a while. But it's just, we got to wait for the right timing for those types of things, right? But it was some interesting stories. And yes, I was in the U.S. Navy. Yes, I had experiences in the Southern Pacific with certain things that we saw. And it was a crazy, I can think of 3 separate experiences that I've written about, that I've talked about for the last decade of what happened. And interestingly enough, it's like the one event that happened in, I think it was 2004, or about 2005, I think it was our deployment. And it was by the Galapagos Islands. And it was maybe a 45-minute event. It wasn't very long. We tracked a red light. The helo went out after it, and it went into the ocean, and that was it. And everybody went on life like it was normal. But there's just weird things that happened over the course of the next few weeks. And I don't know. I always wondered if there was something else that happened there. I don't know. But I'm curious what you guys have to say. So if you do have questions, super chats and Rumble rants are welcome. And there are looking to see if anything is coming in. No, nothing's coming in. You guys have no questions. Like, I have the most informed audience in the world that has 0 questions whatsoever. Max Gramker says, for years, we've been watching UFOs coming and going from the West Coast and near Monterey Bay area. Oh, well, Alpha and I are going to be starting this new show next year. And one of the parts of this show is that we actually want to go to these areas. We want to go to California. When you say Monterey, or we want to go to the West Coast of Monterey Bay, we want to go out there and we want to investigate this and see if we can see that. Like when I say that we're off 100 miles off the coast of the Galapagos Islands, I know where we were in the ocean. It's a little bit further than off the Galapagos Islands, but I'd love to get Alpha. We rent a charter. We go out there. We fly into Peru and we go out there. We take our Starlink with us, right? And we go out there and we try to find these things. I guarantee you we'll find them. They're out there. And who knows, maybe we'll try to abyss it, swim in there into the water and help. So Lee Walden said, Josh, what are your thoughts on the sun in this activity? It seems like there's a Polish shift around the corner and other activities from space. I think Lee Walden is doing speech to text over there. Instead of pole shift, it said Polish shift. I think that it's very, very probable. And actually, Ashton Forbes, I don't really follow too much Ashton Forbes as much these days, but he's been doing breakdowns on a lot of the stuff, and Zach Voorhees has as well. Zach Voorhees said earlier today about this MIT plasma physicist that just got shot and killed. It says it gets even crazier. The assassinated MIT plasma scientist warned that Earth requires periodic magnetic reversals to sustain its field. No reversal, no dynamo, the magnetic field dissipates. The last time this reversal happened, Noah's flood. Yep. And Great Deception, Emmanuel Velikovsky's World in Collisions. It's a great one to look into when they start to talk about that. Man, you guys really don't have very many questions. Okay. So Penny Size Baby says, what is going on with Elise Stefanik? She is now saying she's not going to run for governor of New York and that she is not going to run for Congress. Thoughts on that? So 2 thoughts on that. Number 1 is that Elise Stefanik potentially could be just got blacklisted by Donald Trump. Maybe she did something. Maybe there's a scandal coming. My thoughts are that Devin Nunes has brought her into True Social and she's moving into the private sector. Because True Social just announced this merger with TAE. They're going to be hiring people. They're going to be bringing people in to lobby to Congress. And probably Elise is going to move to the private sector, work with True Social, Devin Nunes, and those guys. That's my thought. Let me see what else we got here. Not looking to talk about the Q stuff tonight. I know I put some posts out last night. I just want to wait and see if anything happens. If it doesn't, I'll probably delete those posts and I'll never talk about them again, because I will change my demeanor a lot if we don't see really things happening by Christmas or by the end of the year. Alpha and I talked about this at length last night. I said, we're going to give it to the end of the year. If there's nothing by the end of the year, then we have to start calling it as we see it. That the comms are being used for marketing more than they're being used for truth, right? There's only so many types of distraction and diversion that you do before you actually strike. So that's a different conversation for another day. Next week, we'll get into that. How is David Whitehead, and when can you have him on for a visit? Don't know. I haven't talked. I mean, we've shared text messages in the last few months, but I'll reach out to him, see what he wants to do a show next year. Describe the pole shifts in detail with 2,000 mile/hour winds and water. Yeah, geez. If you have a literal pole shift as described by a MHD, magnetohydrodynamic plasma, moving and shifting, which would draw its polarity shift, there is going to be significant upheaval on this planet. Continents will move. Yeah, bad stuff. Chan's Shark says, go into the tunnels in the Ozarks. Seen a YouTube show that they showed a tunnel that is restricted by the U.S. Navy. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'd like to see that. Cousin Vinny says, hundreds of thousands of deaths in the Ukraine war, but no pics of bodies or funerals. Very strange, if you ask me. What you think, Josh? I think that's very strange as well. I think that's incredibly strange. You know what? Up until you saying something, when was the last time you saw Zelensky greeting the dead coming back into Kyiv, or state funerals, or them having massive amounts of funerals? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe that's just not publicized. What are we going to do about the Sharia law cities in this country? Are we going to have problems? Shores of Tripoli. I think that the Islamic threat is going to be dealt with over the next 2 years. Do I think that the radical Islamic threat in this country is going to escalate? That's something that's going to be on our control? I don't think so. I think that right now there are waves in the ocean. There are movements in the DOJ, in the military, that are well aware of what's happening, and things are. I think things are going to be in action at the beginning of next year. And let me give you that thought. Kind of what Andy was saying is, like, talk about this a little bit. is that our country had to heal after the damage that was done to it for 4 years. Joe Biden's administration did significant damage to this country. 25 plus million illegal immigrants coming into this country, wrecked our system, bankrupt the system. You have to imagine yourself as a soldier who's shot and who's beaten, who's lying in a ditch, who doesn't have the capability to fight back. That's what Donald Trump inherited. So he had to get to the country to a new point of stability. He had to get to the country to a point to where it could stand on its own feet, to where it could fight the battles. And I think that that's what the declaration was the other night to the speech to the nation, was that, hey, we're back. We're good. We can stand on our own feet. We're healed, and we're ready to fight back. I think that's what a lot of that was. And that's why I kind of said that maybe we'll see some arrests by December 25th. Kash Patel said by the end of the year, you should see some arrests. And we're still waiting. The Epstein files came out today, and it's a big nothing burger. There's nothing there. We still don't have indictments of a lot of these people. So I'm hoping that now that Trump has declared that, hey, we're in control, our economy's doing freaking great. We are very well organized and very well in control of this government and the military. And so that means that it's go time, and that now things are going to be ramping up and things are going to go in and start happening. Now, I'm not going to give Trump administration 4 years to bring about justice. It's just not going to happen. I mean, quite literally, we have till the midterms. Not even. We have till about, I would say, March timeframe, because right after March timeframe is when the election cycle begins to pick up, right? So once the election cycle begins to pick up, people have kind of already made their decision. So Donald Trump literally has only a few months left to kind of do what we've asked him to do before the midterms come around. And if we lose the midterms, it's over. It is over. I mean, listen, I'm telling you right now, if we lose control of the House of Representatives or House of Representatives and Senate, it's civil war. It's over. It's bad shit. And then there's a possibility that could happen. Now, do I think that it's going to happen? No. Is it possible? It's always possible. $5 super chat on YouTube from Gal552. What do you, the next big threat the deep state will to make? What do I think the next big threat the deep state will make? The next big threat I think the deep state will make is doing nothing. It is playing their card of innocence, at least the henchmen at the highest level. Because, see, there's nothing they can really do at this point. It's all about the infrastructure that was developed over the last 4 years and how that plays out. So activating sleeper cells, having the lefties go out there and begin protesting, having Antifa instigate riots, trying to color revolution this country. That is their next move. And I think that next move is in play already, except that we're in winter. And so if you go back to 2020, it was in play in 2019 into 2020, but it took about May timeframe for that actually to manifest on the streets. Film critic 1022 said, have you seen the trailer for the Spielberg movie called Disclosure coming out in June? And it's called Full Disclosure. Yes, I did see it, with the news lady talking like a reptilian with clicks and low frequency sounds. I think that this is very indicative of something that we all know. I've been told multiple times, and from someone that I know that is, we'll just say, associated with those types of programs, is that they walk among us. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that they're like chameleons? They can change their appearance and walk among us as humans? Are they invisible? Are they wearing bodysuits? From what I've gathered is they look very eerily like us. Some of them are very tall. Some of them are just as tall as all of us. They look like us. Now, Do I think that there's reptilians and stuff like that? From what I've gathered, and kind of like where Michael Sella is from what I gathered, that threat has actually been eliminated. That a lot of that reptilian alien threat, that if that was actually here in this world, is now gone. And I mean, I'm skeptical about it all, but if that did exist here, it's definitely been eradicated. Military being the only way, is civil war unavoidable? Is that part of the plan? Well, with military being the only way, is civil war unavoidable? Civil war is always a possibility, and I'll keep it at that. Q Patriot Josh, hoorah, brother. Opinion on DJT standing up the farm giants in the Oval, making them wait, and then giving in their prices. Savage, he's the best ever. Yeah, $600 or $16. But you know, at the end of the day, when I look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., it's a preservation of the system. That's all. It's a preservation of the system, guys. So why won't we see Epstein declassification? It's a preservation of the system. Methods and sources, they're not going to give that stuff up. They're not going to show you how the intelligence apparatus moves money between here and here to fund scientific projects of bioinquiry and physics and stuff like that. They're not going to put out information or remove a part of the government function system that allows them to retain power, to fund secret missions, to topple governments. They don't want that stuff gone. You kidding me? It doesn't matter if they're Democrats or Republicans. They want that power. That power is how they ensure to keep themselves power. Everything we're seeing right now is also a protection of the same system, but it's a more transparent protection. It's basically gutting the system that was already there, pulling out all the roots of the radical left, of the deep state, of the NGOs, pulling it aside, and then rebuilding it with new infrastructure that fortifies that the right is going to have power and control for 8 to 10 years. What we can only hope for is that the people that come into power are truthful, honest before God, and actually have the will of the American people in their hearts and minds as they lead. Truth. You know, there's leaked information that came out today that Charlie Kirk was actually supposed to run in 2028 with J.D. Vance as his vice president. And then after 8 years of J.D. Vance, Charlie Kirk would run for president with Don Jr. As his VP, and he would do that for 8 years. And then Don Jr. would run for 8 years, so on and so forth, so they could keep that legacy going. I think that those documents are actually real and legitimate. Let me see here. Josh, who has had the greatest influence on how you think today and why? This is from LDW Patriot. The greatest influence would have come from my father. Absolutely from my father. Free thinker, questioned the narrative, didn't trust the system. In all the chats, guys, I did put out our tax-free tip jar. So if you guys don't want to do the super chats or anything like that, that's the tax-free tip jar. You can go help support us right there, the Red Pill Project, everything that we do. I don't have any other ads I'm going to run tonight. Rumble is weird on how they manage. Actually, I had someone asking about this one. So I'm going to run this one simply because someone was actually asking about it. And if they're interested, they can go and click on this link in there. And I like the Chicago State Company. I think they like me too, so that's why they keep on putting me in my queue. But look, if you're still scrambling for a Christmas gift, you need to hear this. Our friends at Chicago State Company extended free shipping for Christmas delivery, but their warehouse just told us they're down to the last few slots. mychicagosteak.com/rumble, code rumble. Gift your loved ones the top 2% of beef in America, USDA prime and premium Angus, hand cut by master butchers. Marbling so good when it hits the hot pan, the whole house fills with that sound and smell of buttery meat goodness. It's the call to the kitchen for everyone. Spend $229 and they'll throw in 6 free ribeyes plus free shipping, $240 in premium steak on the house. Your gift shows up in a black and gold box packed with dry ice. They crack it open, vapor rolls off, instant Christmas morning vibes. Give them something they'll ask for next year. Don't wait on this. The warehouse is on the line. mychicagosteak.com/rumble, code RUMBLE, RUMBLE. All right. Got that one out of the way. Susan B. Lee says, Josh, I want a horse for Christmas. Well, I'll let the big man know. All right. Now, Fridays, I'm typically going to do this format of show on a Friday. I like it. I like to just talk. Maybe we'll pull up stupid videos and look at them. We used to do this in chats, just pull up cat videos and watch cat videos for an hour. So I think Fridays is we're going to try to start doing just an hour show. Maybe it goes on longer like this. We do have Conversations on the Fringe coming up in 9 minutes. So I just realized that I have to get off because Jeff is coming on. So Jeff is coming on the channel. So stay onto this. He has got, who does he got? He's got Mike coming on with the Patriot Underground. So it's going to be actually a good show. They're going to talk about a lot of the other stuff that I don't really get into. I don't deviate down certain roads of conspiracy anymore. I tend to stick just to the geopolitical, what I can see within the narrative and how it's shifting. But Conversation on the Fringe is coming up right after this on the channel, so pay attention to that. Check them out. And, man, we need to do this more often, guys. We need to do this more often. But I hope you guys have a good weekend. And next week, our schedule looks like, someone just asked, next week, what does our schedule look like? Well, Thursday's Christmas. Wednesday's Christmas Eve. Those 2 nights, there will be no show, Wednesdays and Thursdays. I think that's right. Is it Wednesday and Thursday or Friday? Thursday, Friday. Yep. So Wednesday and Thursday, no shows. Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, shows. Okay. So you'll get me in the beginning of the week, then at the end of the week. And maybe there'll be a show. I don't know. And maybe this weekend, there might be a show. Keep that in mind. There might be a show this weekend. I have some stuff I wanted to put out there, but still kind of working on some. But all right, guys, much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. Sorry for the short show and there was no news, but I hope that you guys just like me ranting and talking. Hope you guys have a great night, great weekend. Get all your Christmas shopping done. Stay safe. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns into silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls. We the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under. Patriots rise. We are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, are served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!